Hi, everyone. This is International Dribble, and I'm Chet Kona. If you've been enjoying our travel previews, we have another one coming for you very soon. But with the World Cup having kicked off earlier today, we wanted to move from travel previews to a quick match analysis with just two games on Thursday. And as always, please subscribe in audio format wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. Likes and positive reviews go a long way to helping us out, so thank you very much. Now, on to the game, starting with Mexico versus South Africa. First of all, I wanted to know how many people pulled up their favorite AI tool and asked some free-flowing version of, wait, is that EJ from K-pop Demon Hunters? And she's singing a different song than the only song we've heard her sing for the past year? She can do that? And is that Andrea Bocelli next to her? See, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm watching the Telemundo version of the broadcast because of course I am. So I'm disoriented in so many ways right from the jump. Second thing I noticed is when I was at the Sloan Sports Analytics conference this past year, I heard FIFA officials essentially confirm that they curated matches and locations. And as such, this match was pure fan service. First match of the World Cup in the largest city in North America, also the capital of one of the host countries. Sorry, no matches in Ottawa or Washington, D.C. With said country's team playing against one of the lowest ranked teams in the tournament, like a lamb being led to the slaughter. And to just totally stack the deck, as we've discussed in our World Cup travel previews of Mexico City, the altitude is much, much higher than even some place like Denver, Colorado. So let's have that unfortunate visiting country that has a majority of their population live at sea level come into Mexico City. So to their credit, South Africa, who was the visiting country, who was the lamb that was being led to slaughter, understood that the fix was on, so to speak, and they started playing a defensive 5-3-2 formation, bracing for wave after wave of Mexico's offense, which is exactly what Mexico brought, and what I'll call subpar finishing that prevented the score from being greater than it was. It was a 2-0 final in this particular match. And I got to give a lot of credit to the South African goalkeeper, Roman Williams, that made more than his fair share of poster-worthy saves in the first half. Third point I'll mention, South Africa, to their credit, were not just sitting back in low blocks. They had their left back, Modiba, play a sort of unbalanced wingback role that was the intended recipient of a number of opportunistic long balls with the intent to cross into the box on like a counterattack, but ultimately they just couldn't get things going consistently. Mexico's man of the match, Julian Quiones, opened the scoring with a nutmeg strike that came off of a South Africa turnover in front of their goal. Quiones is an underrated player playing off in the Saudi Pro League where he doesn't get a lot of real-life visibility, but as an avid FC26 player, he's been great for me personally in the game. If you notice, I said South Africa started playing a 5-3-2 formation, but after two red cards, they were in a 4-3-1 by the end of it. Their midfielder, Sitole, got a red card for illegal contact on a clear scoring chance, and a second red card was handed out after a muddled explanation by the referee in some language that might have been English on a swim move by Zwane. Not for nothing, but Wembanyama had dropped one of those last night against Karl Anthony Towns in the NBA Finals and got a flagrant one, not an ejection, and this one was much milder than that. Anyhow, one more goal on a header by Raul Jimenez for the 2-0 final. The body language by South Africa made it seem like they were resigned to their fate and just had a happy to be here vibes throughout the entire match. I honestly thought Mexico should have put in a couple more on South Africa, and even though they picked up a red card in extra time, it came late enough that it's not a legitimate excuse for the home team. Now, in the nightcap, it was Korea versus Czechia in Guadalajara, home, of course, tequila and mariachi, a more competitive matchup, even down to both teams in the same 3-4-3 base formation with a satisfying 2-1 outcome for Korea. Korea was more impressive, having a solid backline out of possession and transitioning quickly to attack with some slick passing combinations that led to significantly more shots on goal than Czechia had in the first half, albeit a scoreless one. The opener was scored off of a long throw in the box, very Premier League-esque if you consider the style of play that dominated England this past year. On the other end of the throw was the head of Ladislav Krejci, who came flying in to meet the ball, elevating above the Korean defense in the 59th minute. And then Korea scored the next two goals with Hwang In-boom moving the goalie and a pair of defenders to one side and then hitting the brakes and flipping it in the air for a slow, agonizing bounce into the goal that the Czechia players, the ones whose ankles weren't broken at that point, were unable to stop in the 67th minute. Then Oh Hyun Gui redirects a cross into the back of the net, which ends up being the decider in the 80th minute. Czechia looked more physically imposing. Korea looked quicker and more coordinated as a team. I frankly expect both to move on to the knockout rounds, with South Africa being the odd team out in Group A, with Mexico, of course, also moving on to the knockout rounds. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.